Kawasaki just pulled off the boldest move in its history, and hardly anyone saw it coming. No flashy events, no loud marketing, just a game-changing cruiser that's turning the industry on its head. Why is this such a big deal? And what does it mean for the future of motorcycle? Stick around to find out. The move no one expected. Kawasaki's entry into the cruiser world didn't arrive with headlines or hashtags. There were no teaser videos, no influencer unboxings, no dramatic unveilings at industry expos. Instead, Kawasaki made its entrance with quiet intent, deliberate, focused, and almost invisible to the casual eye. At first, most people didn't even notice. The industry was too busy watching the usual names, Harley-Davidson, Indian, and others, battle it out with chrome, legacy, and nostalgia. Meanwhile, Kawasaki quietly rolled out something different. No marketing circus, just a bike that was lighter, more modern, and way more affordable. It didn't need the spotlight to make an impact. That was the brilliance. While competitors were busy being loud, Kawasaki was focused on execution. They weren't trying to win a popularity contest. They were solving real problems. Riders wanted something simple, something that rode well, didn't break the bank, and didn't feel stuck in the past. And that's exactly what Kawasaki delivered. Some thought the lack of noise meant a lack of confidence. But in truth, it was the opposite. This was a brand that didn't need to shout because they knew they had something strong. Silence, in this case, wasn't weakness. It was strategy, and that strategy paid off. By staying under the radar, Kawasaki avoided the pressure and noise of public expectation. They watched, they learned, they refined. And when they finally revealed their new cruiser line, they did more than just introduce a motorcycle. They made a statement. A statement that said, you don't have to be flashy to lead. This approach flipped the usual script. In an industry full of loud launches and expensive branding, Kawasaki proved that doing things differently still works, sometimes even better. They didn't fight to get everyone's attention. They just built something worth noticing. And now the market is taking them seriously. Their quiet move became a big shift. By now, you're seeing how Kawasaki's strategy has quietly shifted the motorcycle landscape. If this is hitting home for you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There's plenty more to uncover, and we're just getting started. Reinventing the cruiser for today's rider. When you think of a cruiser, you probably picture a heavy bike covered in chrome, big exhaust pipes, and that classic low-slung look straight out of the past. For years, that's been the standard. And for brands like Harley-Davidson and Indian, it still is. They're proud of their history, and they should be. But Kawasaki looked at that picture and asked a different question. What if the cruiser could be something more? Enter the Vulcan S. Kawasaki's answer to what a modern cruiser should be. No giant chrome fenders, no fake leather saddlebags, no gimmicks pretending it's still the 1960s. Just a clean, smart design built for today's roads and today's riders. The Vulcan S is lightweight, easy to handle, and built with adjustable ergonomics, meaning you can customize the seat, handlebars, and foot pegs to fit your body. That's rare, even in much more expensive bikes. Whether you're tall, short, or somewhere in between, this cruiser fits you instead of making you fit it. And let's talk about the ride itself. The Vulcan S isn't trying to be loud or flashy. It's trying to be good. Smooth engine, comfortable seating, and just enough power to make the ride exciting without feeling overwhelming. It's practical, it's smart, and it's fun. Kawasaki didn't set out to win over the hardcore cruiser traditionalists. They aimed at a new generation of riders, people who don't care about brand legacy or decades-old traditions. These riders want performance, comfort, and value. They want a bike that works in city traffic but also feels great on weekend rides. The Vulcan S hits that sweet spot perfectly. While other companies are still selling the idea of rebellion and old-school cool, Kawasaki is offering something real. A modern cruiser for real-life riders. It doesn't lean on the past. It builds for the present, and that's their biggest strength. Kawasaki isn't just copying what worked 50 years ago, they're asking what works now. That's why the Vulcan S isn't just another bike in the lineup, it's a statement. It proves that you don't need to dress up a motorcycle with chrome and nostalgia to make it special. You just have to make it ride right. Kawasaki figured that out, and it shows. The price everyone's talking about. Here's where Kawasaki really shook things up. The price. When the Vulcan S hit the market, it didn't come with a jaw-dropping price tag. It didn't try to convince you it was worth more because of a logo or a legacy. Kawasaki priced it to make sense. And riders noticed. In a world where cruisers are often sold like luxury cars, Kawasaki took a different route. Brands like Harley-Davidson and Indian, they charge you for the name, for the history, for the feeling of owning something iconic. That's not necessarily wrong, but it comes at a cost. And for many riders today, that cost is just too high. Kawasaki knew that, and instead of selling nostalgia, they sold value. The Vulcan S is a smart bike, not a cheap one. There's a difference. It's built to last. It's loaded with useful features. And most importantly, it's priced for real people. New riders, commuters, anyone who wants a reliable cruiser without emptying their bank account. It's the kind of bike that feels premium without pretending to be fancy. You get adjustable ergonomics, a strong, smooth engine, great handling, and it's easy to maintain. No extra fees for flashy branding, no overpriced upgrades just to feel like your bike is complete. Everything you need is already there. And that's what makes the price such a game changer. Kawasaki didn't just make an affordable cruiser. They made one that made sense. They looked at what riders actually use and want and cut out everything else. The result? A bike that's pushing the big names to rethink their strategy. Harley and Indian now have to face a hard truth. Riders are waking up. They're realizing that they can get a solid, dependable cruiser without paying a premium just to say they own a legacy brand. That changes everything, and it's got the big boys worried. Why Harley should be worried. For decades, Harley-Davidson has ruled the cruiser world. Big bikes, big sound, big legacy. Owning a Harley wasn't just about riding, it was about being part of a lifestyle, a tribe. But now things are shifting. Quietly and steadily, Kawasaki is changing the rules, and Harley should be paying attention. Younger riders today, they aren't buying into the same dream. They don't care as much about what a bike says about their image. They care about what it can actually do, how it rides, how much it costs, and how easy it is to live with. That's exactly where Kawasaki wins. With bikes like the Vulcan S, Kawasaki is offering something Harley doesn't: real value. A smooth, modern ride that's comfortable, customizable, and affordable. And the price difference? It's not small. For what you'd spend on a Harley, you could get a Vulcan and still have money left for gear, fuel, and a weekend trip. Harley's brand is strong, no doubt. But that strength comes with weight. Pricey models, expensive parts, and a reputation that feels out of reach for many new riders. What used to feel like a badge of honor now feels more like a financial burden. And that's the real problem. Harley is selling a legacy. Kawasaki is selling a solution. In today's economy, where riders are thinking hard about every dollar, the flashy name on the tank matters less. What matters more is, can I afford this? Will this ride fit my life? Kawasaki answers yes with every model. Harley, meanwhile, keeps asking people to stretch their budget for a name. That might have worked 20 years ago, but not now. The truth is, relevance beats reputation, and Kawasaki is becoming more relevant by the day. Their bikes aren't weighed down by history. They're built for what riders need now. Lightweight, reliable, smartly priced. It's a formula that speaks to the next generation of riders in a way Harley hasn't quite figured out. If Harley doesn't adapt, it risks becoming the bike of the past, while Kawasaki rides forward as the bike of the future. Manufacturing edge. How Kawasaki builds so fast and cheap. Here's something most riders don't think about, but it's one of Kawasaki's biggest advantages: how they build their bikes. While other brands struggle with delays, rising costs, and long wait times, Kawasaki keeps rolling. Their secret? A smart, global manufacturing system that's built for speed and flexibility. Kawasaki doesn't rely on just one big factory. Instead, they use a network of smaller, well-organized plants around the world. That means if one country faces a supply issue or a slowdown, they can shift production to another with almost no delay. They're agile, they adapt fast, and that gives them a huge edge over brands stuck with older, slower systems. This system also helps them keep prices down. By building parts and bikes in different regions, closer to materials, labor, and shipping hubs, they save money. And those savings go straight to the rider. That's how you end up with a bike like the Vulcan S. Affordable, well-built, and ready to go. While some companies spend extra on fancy materials or flashy features riders don't even use, Kawasaki focuses on what matters: a strong engine, smart design, and dependable parts. No fluff, no waste, just a tight, efficient process from start to finish. This doesn't just help the company, it helps you, the rider. Kawasaki can deliver bikes quicker, restock dealers faster, and avoid long back orders. In a world where people expect fast results and quick shipping, getting your hands on a bike without waiting months is a huge deal. It also means their bikes are more consistent. Fewer production errors, fewer delays, better reliability. Kawasaki's not just cranking out bikes, they're doing it with precision. And while other companies might be stuck adjusting to supply chain issues or rising costs, Kawasaki is already 2 steps ahead. Their production model was built to handle problems before they even start. That's why Kawasaki can afford to be both fast and affordable. The long game, Kawasaki's master plan. While other brands chase trends and quick wins, Kawasaki is playing the long game. They're not here to be the best of the month. They're here to stay. And they've built their entire strategy around one simple idea: earning your trust for the long haul. This isn't about hype. Kawasaki doesn't need to drop limited editions or flood social media with big stunts. Instead, they focus on what really matters: making bikes that people actually want to ride for years, not just one flashy season, not just for show, but for real life. They're thinking long-term, about how riders are changing and how the world is changing too. Young riders today care more about value, comfort, and function than image or legacy. They want bikes that fit into their lives, whether that means commuting to work, weekend rides with friends, or exploring the back roads without breaking the bank. Kawasaki sees that, and they're moving in step with that new generation. Everything they're doing, from pricing to performance to production, is built around a bigger plan. They're not here to impress you once. They want to earn your loyalty so that 5, 10, even 20 years from now, you're still riding Kawasaki. This is what makes them different from brands that are stuck in the past. While others hold on tightly to legacy and nostalgia, Kawasaki is focused on building a future. A future where bikes are more accessible, more practical, and more in tune with how people actually ride. And they're not just planning 1 or 2 steps ahead. They're looking decades down the road, investing in smart tech, exploring electric bikes, and designing models that grow with their riders. They don't want to be your first bike. They want to be your forever brand. That means keeping their promises, delivering consistent quality, offering upgrades that make sense, not ones that just cost more. It's a slow and steady climb, but that's how lasting trust is built. Kawasaki's plan for EV transition. Kawasaki isn't the first name people think of when it comes to electric motorcycles. And honestly, that's on purpose. While other brands rushed out early electric models, some flashy, some experimental, Kawasaki took a different approach. They didn't jump just to be first. They've been preparing, quietly, carefully, because they don't want to launch fast. They want to launch right. And now, that quiet prep is starting to show. Behind the scenes, Kawasaki has been building something smart. They've been using the same strategy that made their gas bikes a success: lean manufacturing, global efficiency, and a deep understanding of rider needs. They're applying those same tools to electric bikes. And the result? A future line of EV motorcycles that are affordable, reliable, and built to last. While other brands struggled with battery issues, pricing problems, or clunky designs, Kawasaki stayed patient. They watched, they learned, they improved. Because when they finally bring their electric bikes to market, they want you to trust that it's not a gamble. It's ready for the real world. And just like with their gas models, Kawasaki knows what riders actually care about. You don't need a bike that breaks the speed record. You need one that works every day, charges easily, and doesn't cost more than your car. That's what Kawasaki is aiming for. They're not chasing hype or headlines. They're chasing long-term success in a changing world. Electric motorcycles aren't a trend. They're the future. And Kawasaki is treating it that way. They're investing in EV tech without losing sight of what makes a bike great: comfort, performance, and trust. No gimmicks, no unnecessary extras. Just clean, reliable machines designed to handle real roads, real rides, and real lives. And thanks to their strong factory network and smart production systems, Kawasaki is in a great spot to scale their electric bikes quickly and affordably. That means less waiting, lower prices, and more people riding clean, efficient machines sooner. So don't mistake their silence for being behind. Kawasaki's not late. They're on time and on target. The ripple effect hitting the whole industry. When Kawasaki made their quiet move, it didn't just shake up their sales, it sent shockwaves through the whole motorcycle industry. Brands that once stood tall on legacy and price are now being forced to stop and rethink everything, from how they build bikes to how they sell them. For years, the formula was the same. Build something flashy, slap a big name on it, and charge top dollar. Riders were expected to pay more just for the logo on the tank. But Kawasaki flipped that on its head. They proved you don't need a big name or big noise to win riders over. You just need value, performance, and smart design. And now, other companies are feeling the heat. Pricing models are getting questioned. Brands that used to charge a premium are starting to look overpriced. Riders are beginning to ask, why pay more for the same ride? Kawasaki's smart pricing is showing everyone that quality doesn't have to cost a fortune. Production is under also review. Kawasaki's global manufacturing system is fast, lean, and efficient. Other companies, especially ones still stuck in old factory models, are starting to fall behind. To keep up, they'll need to change how they build and deliver bikes. Even marketing is shifting. The industry used to rely on hype, celebrity endorsements, and big budget events. But Kawasaki proved that a great product speaks louder than any ad. Now, other brands are realizing that real riders care more about the ride than the show. But the biggest change? It's happening inside the minds of consumers. Riders today are different. They're younger, smarter with their money, and more focused on what a bike actually does, not what it looks like in a showroom. Kawasaki tapped into that shift perfectly. They didn't follow trends. They saw where the world was going and led the way. And now, the rest of the industry is playing catch-up. Kawasaki didn't just make a smart move. They started a movement, one where performance beats polish, one where value matters more than image, one where bikes are built for riders, not just collectors. If you've been watching this all unfold and thinking, this changes everything, you're right. It does. And we're just getting started. Finding this video fascinating? Subscribe now. Because the future of motorcycling is already in motion, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. The political implications of Kawasaki's global expansion. Kawasaki didn't only disrupt the motorcycle market, it's also shaking up politics. At first glance, it looks simple. A company makes a great bike at a great price. Riders love it. But underneath all of that, something much bigger is happening. Something that's making people in Oval Office sit up and pay attention. See, Kawasaki builds bikes all over the world. They use global factories, global suppliers, and global shipping routes. It's part of why they can offer so much performance for such a low price. But here's the thing. That strategy challenges everything we've been told about buying American. For decades, Made in America has meant more than just where something was built. It meant supporting union jobs. It meant patriotism. It meant pride. But Kawasaki's global model is forcing a tough question. Is paying more for a bike just to keep it American still worth it? Because now riders can get something just as good or better from Kawasaki for thousands less. And that has a lot of people wondering, is it time to rethink what really matters? Lawmakers, union leaders, and economists are starting to debate this. They're looking at Kawasaki and asking, how can American factories keep up if they can't compete on price? Should we put tariffs on foreign bikes? Do American-made goods still mean the same thing in a global market? Kawasaki's not trying to start a political fight, they're just running an efficient business. But that efficiency is powerful. It's proving that a company doesn't need to be flashy or local to win. They just need to be smart. That's making a lot of legacy manufacturers nervous. It's also making some voters and politicians uneasy. Because this isn't just about motorcycles anymore. It's about how modern economies work. It's about whether old-school patriotism can keep up with global trade. And it's about whether buying American should cost more, just because it's American. The future of Kawasaki. Who can keep up? Kawasaki's future looks strong, not just because of what they've done, but because of what they're ready to do next. They've built a foundation that's solid, smart pricing, global manufacturing, practical designs. And now they're looking ahead. They know the world is changing fast. Riders are getting younger, budgets are getting tighter, and electric bikes are just around the corner. Kawasaki isn't ignoring any of that. They're already building toward it, quietly but confidently. But the road ahead won't be easy. The same market that's made Kawasaki rise is also full of competition. New brands, EV startups, big legacy names trying to reinvent themselves. The challenge now? Stay ahead without losing what made them great in the first place. Kawasaki's biggest strength has always been balance. Not the fastest, not the flashiest, but always the smartest. They deliver just enough tech to keep it modern without overcomplicating things. Just enough style to make it sharp without going overboard. And they keep prices down without cutting corners. That's a hard balance to keep, and even harder to protect as pressure grows. Because now, the other brands are paying attention. Harley can't ignore this shift much longer. Their premium image once gave them power, now it's holding them back. Indians in the same boat, relying on heritage to stay relevant. But riders today aren't buying stories. They're buying bikes that work, and work without draining their wallets. So the question isn't just, can Kawasaki keep winning? It's also, can anyone else catch up? For the rest of the industry, the challenge is clear. Adapt or get left behind. You can't sell nostalgia forever. You can't charge extra just because of a badge. You can't ignore what riders really want. Kawasaki figured that out early, and now they're ahead of the curve. If they stay focused on value, on reliability, on listening to their riders, there's no reason they can't lead this next era of motorcycling. Because in the end, it's not about who has the loudest ad or the biggest fan club. It's about who builds the bike that shows up, rides hard, and makes you glad you chose it. You've made it to the end. Now don't miss out on more amazing insights. Hit like, drop your thoughts in the comment, and subscribe to stay ahead for latest info in the motorcycle world.